Welcome to Monster Monday. Moving on in the Resident Evil franchise, we've got Resident Evil Extinction. More like Extinction.
Extinctions.
There you go. Okay, so first thing, this movie just looks dreadful.
Yeah,
This is an
looks
ugly
really
ass
cheap.
movie.
I don't know why. It just felt like low budget in a bad way.
Yeah.
For such a blockbuster type of movie.
Yeah. It doesn't have anything interesting going on as far as like a color palette or cinematography or shot selection or anything.
Yeah.
It is just a very bland, ugly looking film. Now, this might be a choice by the director because the whole thing is supposed to be like desert, right?
Right.
But like, and of course, it's hard to compare it to a movie like this. But if I'm going to look at another movie that's all desert, but looks phenomenal, Dune.
Of course. Yeah.
Right? I mean, now, one has like one of the most, if not the most famous cinematographer of all time, doing it with one of the greatest directors of all time, doing it. And then you have this, which is part of this silly ass franchise. But what I'm saying is that it doesn't even something like The Cell, right? Like when we watched The Cell recently, and they have those like really great wide pan helicopter shots of like the dunes and stuff that she's walking across.
Sure.
Like it's beautiful, right? It's a
Yeah.
beautiful looking movie. Now I don't know what the budget of that was versus this, but this movie just looks muted, pale, bland. And yeah, I guess it resembles a desert. It's like stripped of color and life. Mm-hmm. Like I'm assuming that's the choice, but maybe a Blu-ray, it'd look somewhat better.
Maybe.
But this DVD, man, it was an
I did
ugly
not
ass
like
movie.
it. Yeah, I did not like it.
Yeah.
The way it looked, or a lot of the other stuff too.
So that's a big one.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the sequel to this is going to be called Attack of the Clones.
I mean, it
That
might
would be-
as well. That makes sense for the next title.
That's what they're setting up here. Okay, so the first thing I noticed for sure when it came to this film, outside of how ugly it looked, is a lot of nods, story-wise and location-wise, to Day of the Dead. You've got their compound, which is surrounded by fences on all sides, with the dead surrounding those fences. Specifically, a helicopter lands in the yard and then takes an elevator down to the actual compound where there's a Dr. Frankenstein of sorts working on trying to purposely domesticate zombies.
Yeah.
Right, and give them somewhat of consciousness, and he puts some old tools and items that a person would recognize on a table, and tries to get him to see if he recognizes them, and he starts to, but then it gets aggressive and turns against them. This is
like
all
super...
Day of the Dead.
Yeah.
I mean, so whoever did this one obviously was watching a lot of Day of the Dead when they wrote this, and were like, I think I'm just going to use all that.
I know. Yeah, because when so much of it is like a ripoff of another film, it's not an homage at that point. It's kind of just like lazy.
Sure, I mean, like a third of this movie is just borrowed, stolen from Day of the Dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that's like another example, or an example of how like another film does it in much superior way compared to this one.
Sure, because once again, for the third film in a row, just the complete lack of gore and violence. It's just like PG-13, even though this is rated R.
Yeah.
I'm not honestly sure why, but it's just like PG-13 action. That's it, right? It's like watching an Avengers movie or something, and like people just get shot at or punched or whatever, and then they're just down.
Right.
Right.
And there's none of the
Like I hate, or even like Fast and the Furious or something, right? When they're like shooting guns, and they hit people, they just fall over. And there's no blood, there's no anything. Now there's some in here. I don't want to say there's none, right? We get a shot of like a zombie getting the back of his head blown out, right? Stuff like that. But for me, there's a few subgenres of horror where gore to me is an absolute must. And if you don't bring that, then you have to really bring the other stuff. But obvious one is slashers, right? Yeah. Slashers should have gore. Now, can a slasher work without gore?
It can.
It can.
Absolutely.
Obviously, Halloween, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like the classics, they can work. But it just, as I said, you have to elevate.
Yeah.
You have to elevate the other aspect so high for a slasher to work without the gore, right? And there's very few films on the caliber level of Halloween, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, right? Like most slashers are trash. As much as I love them, they're cheap knockoffs of a superior product. And so they up the gore and the nudity to try to compensate for the lack of artistic ability in the direction department, the music department, whatever. So they really lean heavily on their special effects crew or their female actresses to give the goods in other ways because that's all they got. And zombie movies, all my favorite zombie movies, right, have crazy gore.
Sure.
Right, Day of the
Dead,
Dead Alive, or Brain Dead. Those are like top tier to me. Zombie movies are there zombie movies that are great that don't have like good gore in them? Sure. They exist, but it's a subgenre where I feel like it's always warranted. It never feels gratuitous to me in a zombie movie because a zombie movie is literally about these cannibalistic, mind-dead beings who tear people apart.
Yeah, I think it's a necessity for zombie films. I think that's one of the reasons why I've enjoyed so many zombie films too, is because that like gore is like goes hand in hand.
Sure.
I mean, the body horror, of course, of like you turning into a zombie or a loved one and like watching the decaying process, and all of that is part of what makes zombie films so, fascinating. And I feel like this movie just was so lackluster and so like dull.
Yeah.
in so many just different like levels. The way it looked. Yeah. And definitely the lack of like really extreme gore, or just more gore, brought it down quite a bit because, I think I said in our maybe the last review or the one before that, I like Alice as a character, but I kind of felt like just done with her this movie. I just don't feel like
she's very one note.
Yeah, she does. I don't know.
For 3 films, it gets old.
It does, because I'm like, where is her character supposed to progress now? Like, she's kind of been put into this role. I know I'm like going off on a different subject than the gore, but anyway, it just was
fun.
Lackluster for sure.
Steering back to the gore department really quick. Also, in addition to that, I don't find the zombie makeup or the zombies in this inspired at all. I find them to be very standard stock, not memorable, could be put in any movie, any cheaper zombie movie. Like, this is a bigger budgeted project. Mm-hmm. And with bigger budgeted projects like this, you have that ability to really like turn to your makeup artists and let them come up with some great effects. Sorry, but there's one scene with the like the shipping container where like all the zombies that come out look exactly the same. Dude.
Like exactly the same.
We actually even hypothesized for a moment, like, are these just clones?
Yeah.
Because they really just all look the same.
And
like then there was one female.
Yes.
Out of nowhere, we were like, oh, they have a female one to just kind of give us some variety.
Right. Yeah. But just to illustrate like the uninspired zombie makeup, like when you get a scene, like the big fight scene too, like it's one of the bigger.
Yeah.
No, it is. It is the big fight scene of the movie, and all the zombies look the same.
Yeah. We'll get to that scene
Anyway.
because I have another thing to say about it. But, you can say whatever you want about The Walking Dead. But The Walking Dead, now, granted, The Walking Dead has like 100 plus episodes. So they got a lot of time to do this. But as far as zombie effects makeup goes, I think that The Walking Dead is as top tier as it gets.
Yeah.
It's the pinnacle of zombie makeup. Greg Nicotero and his crew they just kill it. There is so much variety in that show of really incredible effects work. Like, if you don't like the story and all like whatever, I don't care. But really look, like, I don't know if YouTube has a collection of like all the best zombie makeup in The Walking Dead, but I hope someone has compiled some of that, because we're very spoiled with that show and with other shows, and it's the other spinoffs, Fear and World Beyond and all that, Dead City coming up next month, jeez. But like the effects makeup and that on the zombies, oh my god, just thinking of all the different ones, like ones that were like the one that they pulled out of the well.
Oh my gosh,
and the ones that,
know.
I don't even know if you saw this because this is much later, but there's one where they're fighting against the cold, and they're out in like a frozen area, and there's these zombies that are like frozen into the ice, and they're breaking out of the ice and like tearing parts of their body away. That shit's amazing.
Even like the first episode has that one like lady zombie that's just like
super iconic.
Yeah, super, but amazing, like really incredible.
Sure, I mean there's a lot of iconic zombies in The Walking Dead.
Yeah, and it's just that's part of like. Again, the fascination with the zombie films is like, so you're seeing how the elements might affect the body, how like time and degradation would affect the body, how fighting, like violence would affect it, how starvation or like lack of like the food, all of that is really, it's cool to see like the different states that the zombies would be in. And yeah, this franchise definitely does not do that. And I also want to say too, because I know you've played all the Resident Evil games, like you've been playing through them, and I didn't really watch you play them at all, so I'm not familiar with them. But one of the things that I always thought was like a highlight of the Resident Evil series is that it's not only zombies, but it's like creatures and monsters and like mutations. Yeah. And I haven't really been super into like the guy that's like stars. Nemesis looked cool. I did like his look, but the doctor in this, like what he turns into,
Dr. Isaac,
I wasn't like a huge fan of his design. I don't know.
I disagree.
Really? You liked it?
I did really like it. I thought he looked freaky, and I thought he looked very similar to the game.
He just kind of, like his bulkiness reminded me of Nemesis. Like same thing, and then it was just that he had like these tentacle arms. So for me, I was just kind of like, that's like the big change, like the difference between the two. So it felt like a kind of weak copy.
I don't see them similar at all.
Maybe I should probably look at them side to side, but that's just like my memory is like they kind of both have the same.
One is like a
head and like
one is like a 10-foot giant with a completely like deformed humanoid head with like, it almost looked like the Chatterer from Hellraiser.
Yeah.
Right. And this guy still has like almost half a human face, and one arm is gigantic, and the other side of his body is more normal human size. Like, I find them to be nothing alike. But he's like the only design. Like, his design's fine. Of course, there's the CGI like stuff with his hands that doesn't look good. But as far as his design goes, he's at least interesting. Everything else in here, forget it. I could care less.
The other thing I'll say about it though is also just because I know that these movies are kind of loosely based on the games. Yeah. Like they obviously aren't following them. I was kind of expecting and hoping to see a lot more, like, I don't know how many mutations and like weird monsters there are in the games, but I was like, oh, we'll see a lot of those in this film franchise, and I don't think that we've seen very many. I know we saw the Lickers. Yeah. We saw them like briefly in the first one. And then we've seen the dogs a couple times, which I do like the dogs, but it's like they're not new. And then Nemesis and this guy are like the only other ones, right?
Right, outside of basic zombies.
Outside of the basic zombies, yeah. So,
right. Yeah. We get one in the next one. We do get a totally different monster in the next one. So I'm hoping, I saw that one in theaters. I want to say I saw a lot of these in theaters. Everything. I don't think I'm gonna see if I saw Retribution or not. I probably did. More than likely I did. I don't know. I don't want to say anything about it now because I don't want to spoil it for Kaylee, but I'm pretty sure I think it's this one in my head. And if it is, then I've seen them all. But I didn't know for sure if I'd ever watched that one. But moving on from all of that, it's something I felt this way very strongly about all three of them so far. And we'll just get it out of the way here. And if it changes... Yeah. We'll let you know. If 4, 5, or 6 has some cool zombies, we'll definitely say something. If they don't, then we won't. You'll just know that we feel the same if we don't say anything. Or I'll probably be quick again and just be like, once again, I didn't like the look. If you want our thoughts on it, go watch, this one. So, moving on. Okay. And also this movie's obviously like trying to go for a Mad Max feel, right? Yeah. Mad Max Fury Road kind of thing. Obviously, Fury Road wasn't out at this point, but Road Warrior and Thunderdome and all that, Beyond Thunderdome were out at that point. And that's fine. I mean, it's hard not to compare like post-apocalyptic desert films to the Mad Max franchise. Like whether or not they even had that intention, that's always what you're going to think. If you watch a shark movie, it's always going to be Jaws. Right. A post-apocalyptic desert film is always going to be Mad Max. So it just had similar themes going on as well. But the Day of the Dead stuff is egregious, and this is just like, similar-ish in visuals and ideas, which is pretty basic and didn't feel like a ripoff of that at all. But I just thought I'd mention it. And I don't know how many doctors there are left on the planet, or assistants that would work for the Umbrella Corporation, but Dr. Isaac is throwing them away like they are a dime a dozen in this movie. He like locks them in with these zombies and just watches them die. And I'm just sitting back going like, are you guys getting like new hires all the time? Because like I'm sure the hiring process is probably pretty complicated now that like 99% of the planet is dead.
Yeah.
And not a lot of them are going to want to come work for the corporation that made everyone die.
Yeah. I mean, it's just kind of, he doesn't care at all about human life, but it is like irrational and stupid
he cares about
productivity
his work. Yeah.
And, like, you wouldn't want to get rid of people that could be assisting you and helping.
Of course.
Especially, like, as you said, like, they're medical professionals or they're, like, trained in some way.
Yeah, I don't know what level of expertise they have.
Yeah.
But just getting guys who would be, like, on your side.
Right. That are still going to work for you.
In this world where it's very obvious that that the Umbrella Corporation is responsible for what killed everyone. So everybody, I mean, outside of maybe a very, very small number of people, everybody has loved ones. Everyone has people they care about. Everyone cares about the human race to some degree, right? Whether it's just selfishly, like their mom or their boyfriend or whoever the fuck. But like, if you thought a corporation killed the world and it killed your mom or whoever, your dog, doesn't matter, you're not going to fucking work for them.
No.
Right? So, like, whoever
not.
you got, there's only like 50 people left. There's not many.
Literally,
I mean, I don't know how many are left on the planet at this point.
Thousands,
because
maybe?
In this movie, it outright just tells you that not only did the people die, and this is a new one to me. I will give this movie this. And I'll be curious on how they approach it in future films, right? Because now they kind of written themselves into a corner a little bit. But they're straight up like, no. The people were not the only casualty here. Yeah. Like, the disease spread and it killed everything. Right. It killed plant life. Like, the whole planet is like a desert now.
Yeah.
Do you know how hard resources would be to come by?
Oh my gosh.
Right? people, food, gas, any of that stuff would be impossible.
It's like inevitably everything's going to run out. And then
Sure.
What are you going to do? You can't plant new crops. Nothing
it's
will
just
grow
a desert.
in sand.
Right.
So what do? There's no water?
Yeah.
Or like...
How's anyone surviving? I have no idea.
I thought that was like crazy too, and I do like that we see the birds that are. Obviously, it's a later scene, but that they're zombies, and because we've talked about this before, how like animal infections with the zombie virus is a rare thing. So.
Oh sure,
it's cool
super
to
rare.
see.
And the birds are from the game.
Okay.
We definitely get a lot of crows flying at your head in the game. But yeah, I mean, as far like zombie animals are super rare. I think for movies most of the time that's just like a budgetary restriction.
Sure.
So they're just like, I can't get a freaking a tiger to be a zombie. That's way too complicated, way too expensive. I don't have the effects artists for that. I don't have the money. So I do think animals typically stay out of movies.
Yeah.
Zombie movies because of budgets. And because, a lot of diseases that humans get, animals can't get, right? Sure. And vice versa. Yeah. So, but I do like when movies do the crossover. Mm-hmm. The cross species infection.
I do too.
Like zombies or something.
It makes it interesting, and it's kind of like it also adds to the devastation, of course, too, because like at least one of the I don't know if I'll call it a benefit or like an upside, like the silver lining of a lot of zombie films is like, oh, nature's reclaiming, like The Last of Us or something. That's part of the like weird beauty of the apocalypse. Yeah. When humans are gone. But if animals are also affected, then it's like, oh, like we really messed up.
And speaking more to that point though, like if you're gonna go that route, if you're gonna do this, the animal thing, they should have committed to it more here, right? Like all we've seen so far in that regard is dogs and birds, right? And mostly crows, if nothing but crows, right? That's what they are. Yeah. I just like how terrifying, because we get it in Army of the Dead is one of the only places, because they have like a Bengal tiger zombie in that, and it's like it'd be terrifying. And that's set just like this in Las Vegas, and just like in this, Las Vegas is like a deserted wasteland because Las Vegas is in the center of the desert, and if it is not maintenanced and kept up, and the streets aren't swept, and maintenance isn't kept current on Vegas, it would be a wasteland very quickly. Like sandstorms and whatnot would come in and they would cover that place. I don't know, how long's it been in this? 6 years? Well, what did they say? Did they say years?
I don't remember. It does seem to be years, because the other thing obviously is like the end of the last movie, Alice gets rescued and she is obviously not with those people at the opening of this.
So, yeah, they addressed that in here.
Yeah. So I was just saying, like, it's been years, but I don't know how many.
Yeah. She just knows she's being tracked, so she leaves them. But yeah, I just if you're gonna do the animal thing, the thing that frustrates me about this franchise here is that I feel like the Resident Evil movies have a lot of source material to draw from. They have a lot of creative, cool things to draw from, and they have that ability to do what they want to do because they have a larger budget. Yeah. I mean, in comparison to other zombie movies we watch, Resident Evil would be on the higher end of the spectrum when it comes to budgets.
Sure,
right?
Absolutely.
There's not a lot of high-budget zombie movies. Yeah. I mean, you got World War Z, which would probably be, I don't know, I'd have to look, but I would assume that's the highest budgeted zombie movie of all time. I think they put a lot, I don't want to say anything specific, but tens of millions of dollars, like high tens to like almost under 100, or I think it's like almost like 100 million or something crazy, 80 million.
Well, and not every zombie movie is like an action horror movie, and this is definitely like an action horror movie.
Yeah.
So it obviously already appeals to a wider audience, hence like the bigger budget. And I just feel like Resident Evil is such a like recognizable franchise from the early 2000s.
And that's why the gore isn't there, which we've talked about, right?
The wider audience.
The wider audience appeal. That's not what people want to see, but.
Yeah.
Is this like, what they want to see? I know.
Like, the story is just really... I don't know. It just... I was not invested.
No.
I'll just say that. I was very, like, blah on this whole film. And
sure.
I was trying not to be because, like, I was excited about Alice's, like, psychic abilities and stuff. And we get a little bit of that in here towards the end, which was cool. But... I just feel like there wasn't enough. I feel like she should have been, like, doing psychic shit, like, the whole time. Like, even, like, I liked the scene when she's in the desert camping by herself and she's sleeping and then, like, all the rocks in her motorcycle start levitating.
Yeah.
I wanted more of that kind of stuff. Like, if she can't control it, I wanted to see more psychic phenomenon around her and her being like, ugh.
She doesn't seem to be able to control it. If
right.
she can, then this is just stupid. So... The only explanation I will accept is that she has zero control over it, and it's only in moments when she's like really agitated or really scared or whatever. And as far as I can tell in the film, that is what it is.
Yeah.
But if she just has the ability to be like this and like crush zombies and shit, then this is just absolutely stupid at this point because as soon as the shipping container opened up.
She can't control it. I definitely think that's the case. But that's what I mean. Like, I just would have liked to see more of her kind of stuff in this, because I think that's one of the things that makes her an interesting character, and it just felt lacking in that department for me.
Sure. I mean, what is she bringing as a character in this film? Like
nothing. I mean, she's
that she didn't bring in the last two movies.
Right.
What did we learn about Alice the character? We now know that there's a lot of clones of her, and that the clones are being used to be put through trials that are similar to what she went through before because they're trying to recreate a project they lost. Then they find her, and they're all excited because it's like, okay, we have the original Alice back. Let's go get her. Like, I get all of that. But as far as, like, Alice herself, the character that we've met in the first movie, followed to the second film, and we learned about her, like, fake marriage that kind of became romantically entangled, and then she had to kill him, and then she kind of had, a friendship with, this guy who got put into the Nemesis program. She had to kill him. And then in this movie, she's out in the desert, she's alone, she's trying to... survive, but she doesn't really have a goal or a path. She's just kind of out there, not really doing anything.
Yeah.
And then it's like a call to arms. Like, why she all of a sudden is right near, like, she's been away from those guys for a long time, and then, like, she just conveniently, like, they're within, like, a mile of each other. Like, she just comes to them.
She was, like, listening to them on the radio, so
sure,
I feel
she's, like, following them.
Yeah, staying close to them.
Keeping them. Yeah, that makes sense.
But that's the other part, too, is that with them...
But wouldn't that be stupid, though? If she knows she's being tracked, then why are you staying close to the people that you left specifically? So that makes no sense to me.
Absolutely. But I think that is why she's near them. That would be, like, the only explanation, like, unless it's a pure coincidence. But she's listening to them on the radio. That's just what I thought was that she was following them. But I was going to say that with that caravan, too, I did not feel any connection to, like, anybody in that. Like, I didn't care about the safety, which sucks because it's, like, they had kids. Like, they would briefly show, like, children and stuff. Sure. But the fact that we never got to meet any of the kids or get, like, one-on-one time with them or, like... We only spent time with, like, the main characters and not any of the people that she was taking care of.
Yeah.
It just makes, like, any deaths that happen, like, kind of unremarkable and, like, they're just throwaway, like, bodies piling up, like, during that big fight scene. And, them ultimately getting rescued and leaving, like, it's supposed to be this, like, heartfelt, like... They survived, like, we're going to save the kids, but I just didn't feel that because I didn't know them, and of course, yeah, I want the kids to live, but, like, I want to have the connection with them emotionally as, like, another human, and that was not there for me. And, also, with that whole thing, too, what's-his-face from the last film that
Carlos.
Carlos, no, not Carlos, but I will say
Oh, the
with
black
Carlos, I actually didn't even know that they had like a romance thing going on. That was really out of the blue for me.
I was going to talk on that, but go ahead. I have a few things
No,
to say.
you can go ahead, because that's all I was going to say, is just that it was out of the blue. Like, I was
You were going to talk about the black comedic actor.
Yes, him getting bit and, like, hiding it for so long. I was very frustrated with that character decision, because he's clearly been with these people for a while, and the fact that he's endangering them, like, he knows that he's going to turn. All of that.
This is a common trope.
It's a super common trope, but I was just like, another kind of thing that irritated me.
It didn't bother me as much. I mean, yes, we can talk on that a little tiny bit. Like, it's obviously very, very ill-advised and selfish and stupid and dangerous to, live in this world where when you're bit, you're screwed. And that you're going to get other people killed by your lack of honesty.
Yeah.
But as I said, this is one of the more overused tropes in zombie movies, and that's fine. I think people get scared. And,
I think
they don't want to admit it to themselves. If they say it out loud, that's an admittance of death, because it's like saying you have cancer or whatever. It's tough, and I get it, but. And it's a little more imminent, right? And of course, with something like cancer, it's not contagious. And with this, you could kill everybody around you. So, of course, this is much more impertinent information than telling people you have cancer, because cancer ain't going to kill your family or your friends or anyone around you. But
I know it's a trope, and I definitely was just more irritated in this case because I was already kind of blah on the movie.
Sure.
Because it does make sense that people would get afraid of their mortality and everything that you said. So I'm fine with it in general and like most zombie films, but
I think
I was annoyed.
I think the biggest issue with it is not so much that what he does, it's what he doesn't do. And what he doesn't do in this movie is he doesn't make any impact that's memorable here.
Yeah.
Right? Like in the last film, in Apocalypse, he was the comedic relief, and he did a good job at that. And when he survived and went on to the next movie, it was like, cool, I can't wait to get more of him. And here he is. I couldn't tell you a single line. I couldn't tell you a single moment outside of, like, he had a crush on this girl. They were going to go out at some point, but she died before that could happen. And then he got bit, and then he hit it, and then he turned. And that was it. There wasn't really anything with him in this movie. It was like... It felt like with it leaving off how it did with the second film and being like, I can't wait to get more of him in the third film. It feels like that character could have been someone else completely.
Absolutely.
And it would have been the same to me.
Absolutely.
Because it was just like, it didn't feel like the character from the last movie much at all. It did a little because it's the same actor and he's playing the same character, but it was just like, there was no excitement, funny, anything with him in this that I could care about.
What should have happened is that he should have had his hero moment, like sacrificed himself.
Sure.
Right? And that would have at least given him something to do instead of just hide that he was bitten and ultimately attack someone and then die.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. It could have been a totally different actor. And then Carlos and Alice, like I just, like when they were saying goodbye and she was like crying and then like kissed him, I was just like, what? Where did that come from?
Funny enough, I had written down that they're trying to force a romance between Alice and Carlos pretty late into this movie. They hinted at it earlier, and I was like, I wrote it down then, and I was just kind of like, is that what they're doing here? I mean, I know it is, but like, are we gonna do that? And then when they went to kiss, it was so like forced and didn't feel authentic, and it was like, you guys don't have anything. There's nothing set up here. You didn't earn their romance at all. Like outside of they're both good looking. That's about it.
Missed any hints because, like
I
said,
it's in the truck, so they're driving.
The smile?
And they give each other the smile.
What?
That's it.
That's it. That's crazy.
That's the romantic. He looks and he smiles. There's no other reason for it.
Oh my god, no! I saw it as like because she's looking at like the Alaska thing, that she has in her notebook, and I took that as her being like, yeah, like we're gonna go and like there's hope for humanity, and her looking over at him and smiling was like cheer up, like we're gonna be all right, like we're doing the right thing.
No, to me it was a flirty smile for sure.
Yeah, I did not see that. So.
And I feel like it's been a very subtle thing since they met. Since they met in part 2, there's been a couple little looks they've given each other, but there's nothing ever there. And it just like they give each other a little kiss, like the thing that never could be or whatever, and it just didn't feel earned.
No,
and
not
it
at
just
all.
felt so underdeveloped,
Yeah.
and this and that. Also, getting way back to what we were talking about earlier for just a minute. I don't know what Alice thinks is the extent of her surveillance, but with Umbrella and how technologically advanced they are and what they have, and that they can clone her and that they can make her telekinetic and that they can do all these things, and they're tracking her from a satellite and all this and that. I don't know what her knowledge of it is, but she does say she remembers everything, and she worked for the Umbrella Corporation, so she should know, and she was in a lab where they were like doing this and that, and she knows she was upgraded through them. So she has to imagine that she has some kind of implants or something that are able to pick up sound, maybe even vision, sight, something, right? Which we know to be true. We know that they can hear and see through her eyes when she is activated in the little computer there. So if she is staying close to her troop and listening in on their conversations,
clearly
then they know
Umbrella,
exactly where they are, because they're talking freely on those open channels, being like, oh, we gotta pull over at this place, or like we're heading to Vegas or whatever. It's like, then they know exactly where you are. But ultimately, yes, once they get her, they track her. But what I'm saying is, like, they know that she's in the vicinity. Right? So like if she's here and they're saying like, oh, we're over here, obviously just the bandwidth alone, how far the this and that, they're going to be around. And these are guys that are wanted by them anyway. So if you're trying to protect your friends, keeping that close to them to like try to protect them, you're not protecting them. Protecting them would be you leaving. Now ultimately she does come down, she burns the birds out of the sky, and she does save the day, because I do think that all of them would have died had she not come. Right? Their numbers were dwindled tremendously from that. In that bird scene, it felt like, an Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds kind of thing, but like, oh man, it just felt so... There was just... Because you don't care about anyone yet. It's like, who? That person gets pulled down, this person gets pulled down, and I know there's a lot of
bodies, but not in a good way. Like, because sometimes movies, like, having a high body count can be really exciting for the plot, but just because we didn't even know them.
Take a movie like Jaws, okay? A perfect example of this, right? You've got the Kittner boy's death. The Kittner boy, we barely know. We know almost nothing about him. We know almost nothing about his mother. When the Kittner boy is rolled over in the ocean and he's bitten and blood comes up and the mom's looking for him out in the water, that scene is masterfully created, because even though we don't know them, we feel her pain, we feel the love of the mother towards the child, we feel that scene because she makes us feel that scene. When people are dying in this, there's just, I know it's an action sequence and people don't really have the time, but like, just establishing characters and things happening to them, even in big action sequences, when Frodo gets skewered by the freaking cave troll and everyone stops and has their moment of, oh shit, right? I mean, I know he's a more important character, but there's ways to convey to the audience that these people matter, and they just didn't.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of like, yeah, they died. And it's just fucking birds coming down, a bunch of CGI birds hitting people for like 10 minutes, and I just don't care.
Yeah.
And it's such an ugly movie. We're talking way too long about this movie.
I know. I mean,
we need to speed it up, so I'm gonna move it on. Yeah, she does her little Rey Skywalker impression here. Lifts rocks while she's sleeping. We talked about that a little bit, but that reminded me of Rey. And then we've got Yep. So their big plan is they're going to head to Alaska. I don't know how many people they have in the end, but I guess enough. They have very few because they all fit on one single chopper that's not that big.
Yeah.
And they had like 40 people before, so a lot of them died. The like big cargo, the big shipping container.
Yes.
So we see specifically, right? So in this, the way that this happens is Dr. Isaac, he grabs a shipping container and he has all his previous subjects that have been, shot up with this T virus and they're like overly aggressive, right? They're like hybrid zombies, like hyper zombies. And so he takes all of the surviving ones and he puts them in this shipping container. We watch that helicopter fly it out to Vegas to be there in their path. Why they would stop specifically right there is because it's like blocking away, but I feel like they could have driven around. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's convenient for the plot. Doesn't matter. They get out and the shipping container opens. Number one, as soon as the shipping container opens, these are fucking soldiers. Throw a grenade in there. Do not let anything get out of there. Immediately, whatever grenades.
Yeah.
Did they have any grenades?
I don't know.
I don't know if they ever threw one. So maybe they didn't have any.
I don't think so. Yeah.
So they aren't lacking resources. If they had a grenade, though, of all the times to throw one,
yes,
that's the time.
Yes.
You got to do it because she can tell there's monsters in there.
Yeah.
Throw it in there. But if they didn't have them, then that's fine. But we see, so the doors open, and for the first like 5 feet, it's like light and then the darkness, right? So that space is empty. Then everything behind that, who knows? We can't see. Dude, I don't know if this was a clown car for zombies, but the amount of zombies that are now flooding into Vegas and attacking them is 5 times more than could possibly fit into that container.
So many. It was crazy. You were like, there's got to be another container somewhere like that.
But we see them take that specific container there, and they only know they're going to Vegas right then.
Right.
And they only have so many people, and they have only so many zombies, and they're specifically those zombies in those outfits that they took there to be the overtly aggressive ones.
Yeah.
So no, it is that one shipping container. And there are hundreds of them at some point. Like, we see them, and it's like, they're just swarmed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's no fucking way.
Yeah.
There's no way that many fit in there.
No, there's not. I like what you said. It's a clown car for zombies.
It's ridiculous is what it is. I will say this. I think Vegas looks great. I think the effects on, like, the MGM Grand, the Luxor, all of it. Paris, whatever. That stuff looked fantastic. I will say, like, whoever was the set designer, model creators and all of that, how they composited it into the frames or the CGI artists or whatever the hell happened there to make that look like, desert, wind-blown wasteland Vegas. With the Statue of Liberty at New York, and all that stuff, and it's all falling apart, and it was on the street, and they're driving. I thought all that really looked great and believable as a set design. So really good on them for that. Kudos to them. Just when they were like driving in, I thought like, wow, that looks really good. Mm-hmm. Like pretty impressive there. So they had that down. Just that's about all I got.
Yeah.
She's able to short the satellite from Earth. I guess because the signal, she's just reversing the signal, which I guess that's fine. Yeah. Just seems like a long way to travel for her psychokinesis. But who knows? I mean, it's fantasy, so it can go to fucking, other galaxies for all I know. See, hinting at romance between Carlos and Alice, so underdeveloped.
Yeah.
And then later, not too long later, I was like, even a kiss goodbye. I was like, what?
Yeah.
And then Alice does stumble upon her pit of clones. That would be a trip. Mm-hmm. And then she stumbles into a recreation of the mansion from the first movie, and she's like, "What the hell?"
Yeah.
We do get to see the laser room again.
We do. Yeah. That's cool.
and that's what ends up killing Dr. Isaac.
Yeah.
So that was cool.
Yeah.
To get that back, and I guess because he has like Wolverine regenerative powers, but when you're cut into little pieces like that, I guess that is your kryptonite.
Can't grow back.
Nope. Now, I don't know if this is because Alice has umbrella technology in her, so I'm gonna just go with that. But the fact that she's able to just now. Two things really quick when it comes to this compound. So number one, Carlos comes in, he blows up the truck, and then they drive in behind him. And for some reason, even though it blew up it's a bigger radius, but it's not that massive. There's a lot of zombies left on the outside. And I'm sure it blew the fence away everywhere where the bomb went. So then whatever zombies weren't hit, right? The zombies now have this fence is missing, so they all just come in, right? It's pretty easy. Alice kind of stands there and like tells everyone to get on the They have to start up a helicopter, which actually takes longer than movies make it seem. Like turning it on and letting the propeller start getting going and enough for it to fly. It takes like a good minute or so. It takes a little while. I don't know exactly how long, but it ain't like a car. Right. It takes a minute to get it going. So they got that. Then they got to load everyone on. Then Alice has got to be like, no, I'm not coming. Saying her goodbyes. Then she's got to walk over to the house and go into it. Bro, zombies are on her.
Everywhere.
Zombies would be all over her at that point. There's no way they had that much time. They would have had 30 seconds at best.
Yeah, at best. For sure.
There's no way.
Yeah, that was definitely like a flaw because it's just like she wouldn't, like they're out there. They're still there. Sure. It's not like they killed all of them. So, sure. Yeah.
So it should have been more of a choke point.
Yes.
Right? That would have made more sense for like the visual of where they were driving into. You know, maybe the base and the compound had more of a choke point to where like they came down, blew that area up, and then it like cleared them out super far back, and then they kind of came in behind. Regardless. Moving on from that, she then walks through this door to a secret super facility, right? This is the super secret facility that's underground and everything. She walks in the doors. Doors just open right up. And then she walks in. And as soon as she steps in front, the freaking what's the point? As I said, she's got umbrella technology in her. Let's say Isaac's watching on a camera because it's the only thing that makes sense. You got two explanations here. Otherwise, this is the dumbest shit ever. Either Dr. Isaac wants her down there, which is we know that, right? We know that he wants her. We don't get any confirmation of this, like a camera showing her or whatever. That would have been nice to me. 2 seconds, show a little camera, presses the button, lets her down, right? But her walking in and then the entrance to the super secret lair reveals itself the second she walks in. The elevator rises up, takes her down with no clearance, no card, no nothing. Like what? So I'll just go with Dr. Isaacs had like her on camera, saw she came in and he wanted her, so he lured her down there. That's fine.
That's the best explanation.
It's either that or she's got umbrella technology in her and it recognizes it.
Yeah. Either of those are fine, actually. So, yeah, it's one of those because otherwise,
has to be.
As you said, what's the point of having a secret base?
Right. Why hide it?
Yeah.
Why have it be a table that opens up and there's like a secret floor?
Yeah.
If all you have to do is stand in front of it and it opens. There'd be literally no point to make it look the way it does.
Yeah.
But also, what's the point of it anyway? Because you have a freaking umbrella helicopter and a big fence around a house in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
Right? Like, obviously it's something.
Yes.
Obviously it's some secret base. Right? So, like, making it look like nothing inside, if someone came in, they would be like, there's got to be something here. And they wouldn't be able to get in because they wouldn't have the access codes. They wouldn't know where it was. They'd be looking around, pressing things. They wouldn't be able to find it, and they'd have to leave eventually. But with her, she just walks in and it opens right up. But as I said, there's an explanation. I just think that they didn't address it. That's it. And then, of course, like The Last of Us and every other fucking thing, her blood is the cure that he needs. But he has now evolved. I don't know. Like, Does he even want her blood anymore? Like, now that he's the way he is?
No, I mean, he just wants to kill her because he, like, says, like, I'm the future, actually. Like, I thought you were, but it's me. So he just wants to kill her.
How did he fall for his own laser room?
That's a good question.
Like, he would never walk in there.
No, but, I mean, maybe
he's watched 1,000 Alice's go through that room.
Yeah, but I don't know that he's, like, 100%, like, thinking straight. You know?
What? No.
Like, I feel like
You know better than to walk into the fucking instant kill death
you're right.
room.
He should have remembered that, but I just feel like he's not... I don't know. I just feel like his cognitive abilities have been decreased.
Yeah. I like the look of the people on all the pikes that are in, like, the rooms, like in the glass rooms.
Yeah.
They're all stuck back there like freaking Cannibal Holocaust. That's kind of cool. Alice's eyes... her pupils dilate every time she uses her psychic abilities.
That's cool.
It's a cute little,
yeah,
like, attention to detail there. And see, Monster is great looking.
Huh.
See, we disagree on that one.
Yeah.
And then Alice saves Alice.
Yep.
I don't like that all of the clones are purposely hiding their tits for no other reason than to do it. They always do that in movies. Where she falls out of the thing and then she's like going like this. And then it shows the next frame and she's like this. And it's like, no, her hand was here. Now it's across here. Like, just stop it. Just stop it. And then we find out that they, the remaining members of Umbrella are actually in Tokyo. And Alice is like, I'm bringing... my clones, and we're gonna have an attack of the clones.
Yep.
Well, Clone War.
Next movie.
Yeah. Next film. So we'll see if they actually stick to that.
Yeah.
I don't remember the next movie taking place in Tokyo with a bunch of like hundreds of Alices.
I kind of highly doubt that that's gonna be a thing.
Because I'm like positive the next movie features. Because I didn't even mention that Claire Redfield.
Yeah.
Redfield is in this, played by Ali Lauder. We shouldn't even mention that. I should have mentioned that because she's a massive character, right? She's the big main character of the second game, along with Leon Kennedy, who is still absent. I don't know if we ever get him in this. I don't remember him being in this, which is a huge omission. I think that Alice is supposed to be like a Leon stand-in, although. You know, I don't know. So, does Leon ever come? No, actually, don't answer that. We'll see for ourselves. I don't remember him being in this, but he's like the main character. With Chris Redfield, Claire Redfield, Jill Valentine, like Carlos, who just died. Those are like your main people. So, I don't know. We'll see if Leon ever shows up. But yeah, I know that. Claire is in the next one.
Okay.
So, I guess Alaska doesn't work out.
Guess not.
Yeah. So, that's that. I was going to throw it on the couch and then decided last second to just let it fall because I thought I was going to hit the dog.
Yeah.
So, that was me saving my own dog. That's that. We talked way longer about that than we should have. But
Absolutely.
We had a lot to say. I didn't think we'd have anything to say, but...
Yeah, I guess we did. We had a lot to say. So.
That's that. So, I gotta get this up before Monday's over, because Monday's only got like an hour and 40 minutes left.
Yep.
Sorry we were a little later on this one, but we got it up. I always do. Alright, guys. Bye.
Bye.